and the Billionaire's Bunker is a recent TV show pretty much similar to Money Heist. So if you know the La Casa de Papel TV show, you pretty much will like this one because they are created by the same directors. So this TV show basically starts with the main character Max, and his character basically is just a normal kid from an incredibly rich family. He has an equally wealthy childhood bestie turned first love. And also he was accepted to a prestigious university, but his life just turned upside down because he just got into a car accident and his girlfriend was killed in that accident. So basically after that, despite his family and all the money they have, he served 3 years in this prison, which becomes actually a huge challenge for him because at the beginning of his time in the prison, he was actually suffering from everyone and basically getting beaten by every person who hates not only rich people but particularly his background. And he came from money, of course, and coming from background like this means you will have rivals, you will have enemies, and in this prison basically this is what exactly happening to main character Max. But he found his way out of this situation, and from paying his safety, basically paying everybody to secure his safety, he turned into a beast, actual fighter, and he just started to basically participate in prison fights. And I don't know if it's deadly fight, but he seems to be pretty much engaged. And so as we know, his life basically wasn't easy, but he got basically, out of this jail due to parole. And his father basically managed to get him out of this prison. His father, Rafa, basically came up with an idea that the world is about to get obliterated and that the catastrophe is imminent. And he is just suggesting that they are going to go to some remote place in Kimera. Kimera is the place where you can just hide 1,000 feet below the lake. And 1,000 feet below a lake is a bunker where his mother and his grandmother, they already hiding in that bunker. So for him it's just a choice to make. And there is also another character, which is a sister of his former girlfriend who got killed in that accident. So for him it's just an opportunity to make up with his former girlfriend, with his ex-girlfriend's sister, and with his ex-girlfriend's father, because they still hate him for what happened to their daughter and to her sister. So basically this is the opportunity to make up with those people, and this is the opportunity to reunite with his family. And on their way to that bunker, it's pretty much chaos, and a lot of people seem to be worried that like doomsday and all that shit, but there is no evidence of like suspicious things like that will happen later, because at this point you will only see the like normal typical things that people do when we watch any doomsday movies, when we watch any like the end of the world type of TV show. And when they came to this bunker, basically the first thing they did, and that was locking up their phones, locking up their things and their belongings, but it's still not something that's suspicious, because they still think that this is just normal place to, hide in. And I just realized that the place is actually so similar to a prison because of the constructions and all the, design so resembles a prison. And probably the colors and the uniform, everything just tells that this is just a prison for rich people, and the rich people who themselves just chose to be there, and they invested a lot of money into this bunker, and they just intentionally came there because they were convinced that the world is about to end, and this is the only place when they can escape, getting obliterated by nuclear war. And this woman, Minerva, is the founder and the leader of this bunker and the leader of the Kimera company. Kimera company is the company behind this bunker, who built this bunker like for 7 years. The creation of this bunker took place, and actually all the families, they are on like top 500 rich families of Spain, or something like top 100 rich families across the world. I'm not sure exactly, but there are multiple like countries represented by different people, and in this bunker we see people from different countries hiding inside this bunker. Basically this is like the only place, from what they said, the only place when they can safely escape the imminent doomsday, the imminent threat of nuclear war. And basically they were scared because everything just, played perfectly by the creators of this bunker, Minerva and her people. But saying like that they played everybody, I mean like literally they just played the whole doomsday, the whole scene, that the whole end of the world was perfectly staged by the creators of this bunker. And all the things to make these people believe that the end is about to end were planned long ago by the creators of this bunker, by the company called Kimera. And the people who invested into this bunker actually have no idea that they were basically scammed. And the scam is ridiculously good, because you only will believe that this is a scam after episode 1, because the whole episode 1 you're just seeing a normal actions and consequences of doomsday, like the things that happening in every movie when everything's just getting obliterated and all the, all the things happening, and you will never find out before episode 2 and before the ending of episode 1 that this is just a huge scam. So the main character Max actually trying to make up with his ex-girlfriend's sister, and her name is Asia, and actually she sees him as the reason why his sister died, not only because he was driving that car, but because he basically left her dying after that accident, and she is still blaming him for what happened, and pretty much like reasonable, character. She sees her whole life just ruined by this family, another rich family, and specifically Max, because of that accident. Not only her sister died, but later her mother died in a traffic accident, and they just see this whole, Max situation ruin their life and their family completely. So they still blame him for what happened, but he gave something to Asia to make her feel better, because the only memories they have about her sister is this phone with all the videos, all the photos, all their history shared, recorded on this phone. So it's not enough yet to make up with her, but still it's something. And at this point, when everybody was just chilling and spending time at a bar or just resting, happened the doomsday, and the doomsday basically was shown in the most typical and like normal, I would say, way. Everything just, crashes, and all the news just showcasing how it's, impacting the whole world, and the whole world getting obliterated. And in just a minute, they see the whole world just getting reduced to ashes. And they believe that they are the only people who survived, actually. And they believe that because they just saw their own eyes that all countries got, that nuclear mushroom, and that nuclear war basically happened simultaneously, and different countries just war at war, and different countries basically different countries, like from Europe to USA, were involved in that war. But it's still normal, and nobody yet suspects anything unusual. But they believe that only because they just got some pictures, some videos, but they never saw that their own eyes, and they never got a chance to actually see the outside after that happened. But now they got another picture, another video, and this is like a live stream of what happened and all the consequences of the doomsday. And this is right after that event. So basically this is the outside of that bunker, and they saw that, and they actually still believing that, they are believing that the whole world just got obliterated, but they are still 1,000 feet below a lake in Kimera, and this is considered to be the most safe place to hide in. But something going to be suspicious when I saw this smile and this woman smirking like this. Once she entered this room, when her whole team just sitting and waiting for something, I immediately understood that they just either played everybody or they intentionally just making them afraid of everything and just making this even worse. But I didn't really expect that this is just staged perfectly like a movie, because everything that they were seeing on that screen was just a whole movie, a doomsday movie. And the actual life outside is untouched at like everything just perfectly existing. No nuclear war. And we get in some prehistory of this company Kimera and how Minerva basically came up with this idea of 250 most rich families, 250 families, you know, the most affluent families or something like this, to put them inside the bunker, to make them invest into the bunker, and basically to create this doomsday using all the technologies, and basically to make them believe that they have no way to come back to their normal lives. And together with her brother basically and her girlfriend, they created this, and she made everybody from her team work on this plan for a long time, and she involved not only her brother but her girlfriend Julia. And basically the character Julia is the closest person to Minerva after Minerva's brother, but her brother is not completely well. In this TV show, he seems a little bit like crazy due to his probably mental health or something like his illness. I'm not sure, but he is not stable. And the only people she can count on is her girlfriend Julia and some, you know, filmmaker that was hired to produce that film, that doomsday movie, to make everyone believe that this is really happening. And they hired that filmmaker who created the whole thing. And the whole thing was filmed before they arrived to this bunker. And they just saw a pre-recorded movie, of course. Just a movie. And after that, basically, while everybody under that effect, and specifically this character Mimi is the most vulnerable character, because she is just so easily getting, you know, scared by things like this, specifically when it comes to people get hurt, people get obliterated by catastrophe. She just sees that, and this is the type of people they using to spread that fear among others, you know. And they exactly know what they're doing. This is all just perfectly planned. But Minerva's girlfriend, Julia, she is understanding that people suffering for no reason because they got into this bunker believing that they have something to do with surviving and that they are the only people who survived the doomsday. But to make them suffer like this is just unfair. So her personality is kind of the opposite of her girlfriend's Minerva's personality. Her girlfriend Minerva is more resilient, and she is sticking to that plan no matter what. She wants to see her girlfriend Julia to be the same and to stay, you know, with her no matter what, and to stick to that plan. Because the whole plan, the whole project just changed their lives, and the whole money that people invested into that project is the only future for them. There is no other way. And Julia is still so afraid of all the consequences, not only for billionaires who survived that, you know, staged doomsday, but for themselves, because the whole crew is just consists of different people and different personalities, different mentalities. So not everybody is prepared enough for this and to be as cold as Minerva and to keep everything under control. Not everybody just is suitable enough for this type of work. And so this woman, Julia, is actually believing that she is going to get out of this place, knowing that they are basically scamming and deceiving everybody. She is going to get out of this place, which is of course not gonna happen. But another person who is as well so vulnerable and so scared of what's going on, and she is just used to take care of people as well as Julia. So this is why these two persons, they are the most vulnerable and the most, I would say, weak characters from this TV show. But they were not the only scared people, because some other characters, they even did worse. They almost killed themselves. They almost committed suicide because the environment, the just whole situation putting too much pressure on you. And this is apparently becomes a turning point for Julia and Mimi. And Mimi's husband, Guillermo Falcone, is a billionaire who is behind a huge company. And he married Mimi when she was modeling and she was working as a model. And they had some type of affair, and after his wife died, he married Mimi. So after his wife died and his elder daughter died, he sees this relationship with Mimi as the, way out of the depression, as the compromising, as something like he's trying to replace, he's trying to fill that, feel that missing figure. But he's telling that he's not really in love with her and somehow hurting her feelings. But this situation just itself representing a huge, drama. And some people telling that this TV show is just a soap opera, but I don't agree, because the soap opera of this TV show is pretty well written, and all the drama is just making sense as much as I'm concerned about the characters. It's not, disturbing the, the consistency of actions, the consistency of, of the storyline. The drama itself is just perfectly written, and the characters developed perfectly because of the cast and the actresses and actors that just perfectly, conveyed the message. Because every character has his own trauma. Every character is trying to heal from something happens before this bunker. And for this character, Mimi, it's still that she is a replacement, and she is a second choice for her husband, Guillermo Falcone. And he said that himself, and made her even more vulnerable, because not only does she feel that, feelings of other people getting hurt, and this is pretty much, making her worse, but she feels that her own husband just resents her and making her like an outsider, basically. But they kind of in the middle of episode 1 or episode 3 to be more precise, they made out, and they pretty much came back to the point that they were before this bunker. So this whole drama between this family, between the members of this family, is just based on his affairs and his, character, and how he is not able to basically make things better for his wife. So I don't see this drama like something that, disrupting the action of this movie, because of this TV show, because the whole thing with this doomsday, the whole sequences of the, surviving in the bunker, not ruined by any drama. So the soap opera exists and coexists with action, and they perfectly just coexisting. And I would say the drama aspect of this TV show is even better than in Money Heist, because Money Heist was too much dragged out, and Money Heist was just about a single heist, and a single place getting robbed, but dragged out to the point that we basically witnessed 3 seasons of single heist. So, but this TV show is making something differently. They actually just came up with the idea that this one season is just about introducing characters and making the, set for next seasons, making this setting as something like everybody probably will stay in this bunker and something will happen in future seasons. But I'm not sure because I'm still watching it, and some characters, they are still trying to figure out their problems and their psychological, traumas. But some other people getting in actual physical troubles, like getting hurt by, by the doomsday, which is not real doomsday, but some people just getting into actual trouble and getting involved in fights and getting involved in the situation when they just created that themselves, But the whole situation with Minerva, the creator of this bunker and the leader and the founder of Kimera company, her whole storyline is based on her girlfriend Julia started to doubt their project, and she started to basically looking for a way out of this bunker. And once that happened, we understood that basically their relationship just depends on how stable they both are, because once one person is just getting weaker, the whole thing is just getting worse, because now it's just putting at risk the whole project, because the member of this Kimera company and one of the founders of this company is trying to basically stop this. But first she is trying to get out of this bunker, and Minerva sees that as a threat, not only to her business but to the whole future they have, because everything just can be ruined by a minute, and everything just can be ruined by government or other people who can basically find out about this place. And once basically she understood that there is no way she can convince her girlfriend Julia to stay in this bunker and to keep going this project, she understood that there is no way they can basically let Julia get out. And her brother is just, due to his unstable mental health, he did basically what he did. He is just directly getting rid of Julia and basically pushes her off the balcony. But they basically did that together, because one person is just pushing her out of, pushing her physically, but another person is just making her feel like worse by saying like that this is the only future for her, and that without this bunker, without Minerva, like without all this, she has no future outside, she has no life outside, and that her miserable life, this was literally what she said, that her miserable life would be nothing if it's not for this project, if it's not for Kimera. It's just nothing, and basically made her feel like she has no choice but to get out of this place, because now it doesn't seem like balanced relationship, because one person is so focused on this whole project and another person is just probably there because of her, because of Minerva, and Julia seems just to be more interested in their relationship, not this project, and helping other people, since she is kind of a doctor. At least she knows how to help people in different situations, and when there was an emergency situation, she was the first person who actually gave a hand to, guests. So, and this whole situation, the Minerva and Julia situation, got worse after this accident, after she fell off the balcony. They created, or even before that situation, they already had this virtual version, AI version of Julia, and they were basically filming for like years. For years they were filming everything from intimacy to private conversations between Minerva and Julia. They were basically capturing every emotion, they were capturing every word, not only of Julia and Minerva, but now they started to capture their guests. For example, Mimi and her husband were captured to create their virtual versions. And the whole AI thing is just, making this TV show kind of standing out specifically from money heist concept, because the modern techs, they making this TV show look more as a sci-fi fiction, not just action but sci-fi genre. And I'm pretty okay with this idea of replicating other person to make this AI generated version, and to basically answer calls, answer messages, and to show this AI version as the real version, and to basically make their friends, families see this version, and to make them believe that they are not in any bunker, they are just somewhere and they just, on vacations, or they're just traveling across the world. And behind this AI replication of Julia is, of course, Minerva's brother, because he was that person who was gathering all the information and all the data from the behavior of Julia to create her AI version, basically, and to make it work when it's perfect time like this. Because once Julia died, they basically activated this AI Julia, not only to make Minurva feel better, because now she's missing Julia and she sees this AI version as the perfect replication, as the perfect replacement for what she lost. And they came up with this idea long ago, before getting into this bunker, because they created basically this AI version of Julia before even all the, staged doomsday. And basically they made other members of this crew to guess where the actual version of Julia is and where the fake one is. And the way she was talking, it was just too difficult to tell, because the AI version was just too much emotional, and they actually believed that this is the real one. But it turns out that this is the AI version, just crying and telling everything like in a way that the only real person can do, because they believe that if it's too much emotions, it's definitely a real person. But so the AI thing is just so powerful in this TV show, and acting like a real human. And the whole thing is just basically perfectly fitting into this concept. And we have another drama unfolding between Asia and Max. And basically their whole drama is about to forgiving him for what he did to her sister. And it's not like she's not able to forgive him, but it feels like she is falling in love with him, because she saw multiple videos with him and her sister who died in that accident. And she saw how much they were in love, and she started to feel that basically towards Max. And it was so obvious that she is trying to push back Max, and she is trying to not getting involved in this situation, because she sees like potentially she can get hurt by Max, because the breakup probably is just imminent, because of Max and his personality and how he basically, how he acted after the situation with her sister. And by leaving her at that car crash scene, she basically doesn't trust him, because she sees him as someone who can potentially just leave you alone when it's bad time. And basically the whole situation between them is complicated due to her feeling something for him. At the same time, she's still blaming him for that accident. And she's not just moving on anytime soon, because she sees the like bunker situation is the way to basically help other people, and her character somehow similar to Julia and Mimi character, because she is as well helping everybody, including people that was basically, including this person who was basically beaten by Max. And after Max basically got into this fight with one of the guards of this place, she was the person who resurrected this guy, because she helped to, get him back to life. But Minerva sees Max as a threat, because he is the only person who now is able to fight back all the guards, all the security of this place. And she sees him as the problem, because not only did he basically put that guy into, the condition that he was in, but he stole this item from that guy, which is a shocker. And basically they were like, face to face, and Max was just a little bit more stronger because of his time in prison taught him how to fight, and basically he was more experienced in fighting due to his time in prison. And that beginning that we have in this TV show, just showcasing how he became that person and how he basically learned the fighting. So it wasn't unfair, because the dude just came and threatened Max, and Max just did what he, had to, because the only way is just to defend yourself. But they still trying to make it feel like Max was the offender and it wasn't self-defense, and he was the problem in that situation, not that guard, And there is another situation when emotional well-being of guests prioritized somehow, no matter how scammy and how, unreal this whole situation with Doomsday and all the strategy that played by this Kimera company, they still trying to take care of their guests, and they put a lot of efforts into therapy, into conversations, into this AI thing called Roxanne. And this Roxanne basically is the AI type of version of, communication that every guest can use to get access to, some places, to get access to food, or to ask for advice. For example, Rafa is actually using this Roxanne as someone who can just, make a good conversation, because his wife, basically his family, and whole situation with his wife, and that she cheated on him, made them basically break up, and they basically got divorced. They got a divorce in this bunker, basically. And after that, he is trying to basically get over this situation, but she's still believing that she can get back his relationship with his wife. But after she told him that she cheated on him and that she is not going to, make this relationship work again, he basically got this therapy, and he used this opportunity to make up with his friend Guillermo, because after Guillermo's daughter died due to Rafa's son's reckless driving, they got this moment as the only opportunity to make up things between them, because Guillermo was still blaming his son. Guillermo was blaming Rafa's son, but that conversation and that therapy basically made them friends and made them best friends again. And basically after this situation, they seem to move on and they seem to get along and spending time together as best friends, and even trying to get another woman for Rafa, because Guillermo is way more, he is way more about to lead that lifestyle, when affairs, they just justified by him trying to save his marriage, and that he is playing around that marriage because he respects his wife and he respects his marriage. So he is playing around that marriage and sleeping with other women because he is trying to keep his marriage just out of this. And his wife Mimi basically is not aware of that cheating situation or of your husband being so indiscreet until she was told that he is like this and he is never changed, but he is a little bit different now because of Mimi and because of her personality, that she made him a little settle down and she made him a little less of a cheater. And that was right before they establish communication, connection with outside world. And they basically got the signal, and specifically Mimi got that signal from outside, but that was because of the same reason as before, when they were using Mimi as the most vulnerable person to spread that fear among others. And they are still using her to do so. And that whole signal, the whole communication with outside world was just played by Kimera company. They are still doing this theater. They are still doing this, circus. It's just whole trick created by Minerva and her team, and she is behind all of that, and making them believe that they basically established connection with an airplane, and that the airplane was about to land, but they denied that landing. They denied basically, and they made it seem as that plane crashed basically because the access to, landing on one of the Kimera's spots was denied. So due to that, basically, they made me feel even more on the brink of, I don't know, emotional breakout, because she doesn't seem stable now. And another person who was basically not stable from the beginning, and she was the first person who was basically almost dead. From all the guests, this woman basically was the first person who put herself basically in such type of situation. So basically they called her suicidal woman because of her trying to hang herself in a bathroom. And this woman is about to become a new, probably, affair for Rafa, since they both just feel left out by their, families or something like this. I'm not sure what she is about and what her life was before she came to this place, because her storyline for me is still unknown. And I'm still watching this TV show, but I'm going to make one more streams about this TV show, because now we have multiple dramas unfolding simultaneously, and more of the more I'm watching it, the more I'm trying to, immerse and figure out what is going on, because this is the type of TV show you need to concentrate on. You cannot just put it on the background and just, you will miss the whole concept. And the concept is just so interesting. And this is not like the money heist type of concept, because this time nobody robs, nobody involved in heist, in any type of heist, but some kind of heist is still existing, because Kimera company, they somehow behind this doomsday, and they are trying to basically keep these people inside this bunker and potentially probably invest even more money into this bunker, because this is pretty much scam, and they are robbing these people. They are basically, the people who can be basically similar to money heist characters, like those who were behind the heist. So let's say there is some type of heist, but it's not direct heist. It's not like somebody trying to get money and just run away with this. The whole concept is just way much complicated, and the whole project Kimera is just not only about to put rich people together, but about to make them believe that they have no way out of this place, and that the place they are trapped in is not more but a prison for billionaires. And this is actually a prison. So to call this a prison show, there are too much things that are just not, common for prison shows, from sci-fi to all the AI things they use in this TV show, but it has some vibe from other prison shows. But to call this a prison show, it would be not correct, because the prison aspect is existing because of the whole situation in that bunker is just that nobody can get out of that place anymore. And once you got there, you can only get out of that. You can only basically get out of that place if you are a member of this Kimera company. And even that is not sure, because Julia, she didn't manage to get out of the place, and she was basically killed trying to get out. So I guess that nobody actually can get out of the place, not even a member of this crew, not even the most rich, the richest person of this, 250 families put into this bunker. So given all that, this is pretty much prison type of place, when everybody just trapped, locked up, but at the same time they feel more as a part of this place because they invested money into this place. So they have some shares, they have some percentage of what this place is. They have something to feel that they are the owners as well, because they invested, they put money in. This way they feel even more important, that they are there as investors and as people who basically created this place, and not in any way as convicts or as people who basically locked up. But for them to begin suspect that they are locked up, there should be something that would make them believe that they basically have no privileges, but they have no privileges of being that wealthy. And once they understood that they were tricked, basically, because now they have no influence, and that basically they cannot change anything, not using their money, not using, not using anything. So once they realize that they have no basically influence, they will just forced to do something about this, because other people from outside, they still trying to connect, they still trying to establish connection with one of the members of this bunker. And one of the members of this bunker, basically, Guillermo, he is just way too much just popular businessman. He is way too much affluent. So I guess he is about to be that person who is going somehow to make other people understand what actually happened and that there is a huge scam just, and no doomsday. So thank you for watching, and at this point I will just end this stream and come back with other part once I just completed. Thank you for watching, and the Billionaire's Bunker TV show part 1 and part 2 is going to be later. Thank you for watching. See you next time.